translator writes it this way: you're blessed when you're at the end of the rope. With less of you, there's more of God possible. I love that. The more we get out of the way and give up control, the more we can lean and learn the promises of God. And just like swimming, if we can surrender to the water, we can be immersed in God's presence. If we can trust the canoe, we can float whatever issues have, and not dismissing them, but knowing that there's a buoyancy to the kingdom that comes because of what God has done, is doing, and will do. And really, that's been my experience too, maybe yours. It's not always easy though. Parenting, again, is one of those issues. I know with children, it's really a desire to hold them close, you see, and maybe make decisions for them. To actually want to control what decisions are made, the friends they participate with, the decisions, activities that they're involved in. But of course, parents, and Christian parents in particular, must learn quickly to give that control over and be in a trusting relation, not only with God, but with your children and with yourself. And of course, there's anxious moments, whether it's curfews or your first license driving and you're waiting anxiously at the door, hoping that they'll come home earlier, later, or with at least 2 bumpers on, maybe 1 bumper. Sometimes it feels as if we want to have a rope and pull, you see, and not just our children, but others as well in our relationship, so that we have control. But of course, yanking our children would be miserable, you see, and likewise trying to control perhaps even our spouse or neighbors or friends ends miserably. But in the Beatitudes, can we see the grace that God would have to entrust not only our children, but ourselves and our community and our church? And we know that that doesn't mean that things will end out to be perfect. Tragedies and hardships are part of life, sadness, sickness. But may there be that gift of real peace and joy in trusting that we are always in God's hands. Blessed are those who know that. Now, one of the images of the struggle, and this comes from our resource kit, although I found if you will, Nathan, tee that up. This image of being in God's kingdom. Do you remember? And it's called Chinese finger trap. Remember playing with those? We did it at camp as well. Remember, you push in, you might pull out. There's a little clip here, and my techie, who I think liked this a lot, I'd like to show you that. Then you can relate that to faith of giving in or pushing through. Okay.
To come before.
Understandable. It has been extinct for 600,000 of our years. These planets were once outposts of that empire.
Peter, what are you doing?
Apologies, Captain. I seem to have reached an odd functional impasse. I am stuck.
Then get unstuck and continue with the briefing.
Yes, sir. That is what I'm trying to do, sir, but the solution eludes me.
My hero. Continue, Commander.
Intriguing.
Well, it is intriguing in terms of how we as people who are led in faith continue to strive, try to cling to ourselves. But again, the Chinese finger trap is that we let go and push ourselves to be open. And as you receive bread and wine, that to me is a wonderful sign that we surrender. And with the Chinese finger trap, I think that's an image for all of us to not fall into that trap of seeking to be in control. And the Beatitudes is a continual call. As we surrender, as we give ourselves to God, there's more of God and less of me. With the closing, our stewardship committee, and if you'll tee that up as well, thank you, Nathan. Our stewardship committee for these 4 months, 4 Sundays of October, are going to make 3-minute clips, and I think Ed Miller's ready to go. And Ed Miller taped this on Wednesday. And it's a personal statement of what God is doing for his life and That's going to be the intent for the next month, that our stewardship committee will give words of encouragement to them. David, too.
Hello, my name is Ed Miller from Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. My wife, Susan, and our family moved up here about 6 years ago from Regina. The family includes Bob, who's a member of the church here as well, and our daughter Leah, who now lives in Regina. Anyways, at Regina, we were members of Christ Lutheran there for over 20 years, served on council. Susan was superintendent of the Sunday school. Our kids were baptized there and confirmed there, and our daughter was married there as well. So moving up to Saskatoon was a difficult time for us. It was difficult because where are we going to go to church? Was one of the major concerns we had. We're happy to find Good Shepherd. It's a good church here. There's people here that care for us, love us, and we can in turn love them and care for them by participating in activities of the church. I'm a member of the stewardship committee. Susan helps out in various functions of the church, Bob's and band. We consider church a vital part of our life. As we talk about Beatitudes, I want to read a bit of an intro. Topic this week is more God, less me. The secret of abundant kingdom living begins with this countercultural reality. More God and less of self is the foundation of real joy. I want to relate a story that I heard last week about Jan, a lady who was struggling with finances, and should she give her tithe, or 10% of her income, to the offering. So things were tight, and it really was a struggle of putting food on the table, paying rent, or giving the tithe. She chose to give the tithe, and the next day, lo and behold, there was a check in the mail with more money than she could imagine. People that are paying it forward. The person that thought she needed a need, her need was needed to be met at this point in time. So I'm not saying that if you do that every month, you're going to get a big check in the mail. That's not the intent. But the story really is relying on God, leaning on God. Things I like to do at the church include singing in the choir. It helps me to share in God's abundant joy. Just reading the words, singing with people, singing praises to God are important to me as well. And I hope they're important to you. You know, God promises His life abundant, and it's really by leaning on Him, releasing all our troubles and cares to Him, is how we can achieve that. And I hope that you can achieve that, to that harvest green that God promises us, as the choir sang today, just by trusting Him. Thanks for listening.
And now the peace of God, which passes all understanding, keep your hearts and minds vibrant and thankful, resonating with the grace of God, who invites us to be in His kingdom by His declarated presence, that we are part of His blessedness. Again, not because of anything we could do, earn, achieve, or ever pay back, but His condition, His promise. Just as Eli was washed in the water, may His grace continue to embrace us. Even through His name we pray. Amen. Let's continue to sing of that hymn of faith. For the fruit of all creation, please stand as we continue to worship.